I call to order the Plan Commission meeting of February 26, 2019. We'll proceed with roll call.
Mr. Foster?
Here.
Mr. Holman?
Here.
Mr. Schumacher?
Here.
Mr. Pearson is not here currently. Mr. Cutts?
Here.
Ms. Lazarus?
Here. Next are the number 3, correction and/or approval of the minutes of November 27 and January 22nd. Are there any comments about either one? And then I would be looking for a motion if there are no comments for approving them both, or if you prefer to do them individually, that's fine too.
I'll make a motion to approve both.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve both minutes. Is there any further discussion? Okay, in that case, we'll proceed with roll call vote on approval of both November 27th and January 22nd minutes.
Mr. Holman?
Aye.
Mr. Schumacher?
Aye.
Mr. Coots?
Aye.
Ms. Lazarus?
Aye.
Mr. Foster?
Aye.
Motion passed 5-0.
Okay. Item number 4, questions and public comment. The public may address the commission at this time regarding items on the agenda unless the item is the subject of a public hearing. If your comments pertain to a public hearing, please hold your comments until the hearing. We do have 3 public hearings this evening. Item number 5, conditional use request by Sunshine Brewing Company for outdoor hanging signage at 121 South Main Street. Parcel 24607131322-069. Item number 7, conditional use request by Haag Muller Incorporated to reconfigure drive-thru lanes at McDonald's, 111 East Tyranena Road, parcel 24607131223-024. Item number 9, conditional use request by Lake Mills Area Public School District to add 10,000 square feet of academic space, add a football field and bleachers, and to improve concession restroom building at Lake Mills High School, 615 Catlin Drive, parcel 24607131331-001. Public comment may also be made on items not on the agenda if you have registered with the city clerk before the meeting. The state's open meeting law discourages action by the commission on items not listed on the agenda. Please keep comments limited to 3 minutes. Are there any public comments at this time? All right, hearing none, then we do go on to item number 5, public hearing. Conditional use request, Sunshine Brewing Company, LLC, Lane and Sherry Smith, for the purpose of adding outdoor hanging signage in the right-of-way at 121 South Main Street, parcel 24607131322-069. We'll start the public hearing with, Mr. Wolf, if you would give an overview of this request.
Thank you. The request is very straightforward. Their desire is to have a projecting sign that's consistent with the architecture and character of the downtown area. We require conditional use along with a couple of other requirements associated with it from the city. You may recall last month there was a hearing for this item as well, and that was for the beer garden in the back. You approved that. This area is zoned B1 downtown business. While it's not a historic district, it is locally historic to us, but it's not a national district, so I want to make sure there's a distinction between that. The sign is around 11 square feet in total area. Obviously be two-sided. It will project out, and the bottom of the sign will be a minimum of 10 feet above the sidewalk, which is required by the code. There will be the requirement to get a permit for privilege in the street from the city on that, and that also outlines insurance requirements. Any more detail, or wait till we go into discussion?
Mm-hmm. All right, and I noticed too that in your memo you mentioned approval by Lake Mills Main Street.
As a condition of approval, just to make sure that they're on board.
Right.
They're usually pretty plugged into
Right.
all of the improvements in the downtown. Just want to make
All
sure
right, that's
they're
good. I'll bring it
contented.
back, I'll bring it back up again under discussion. All right, we are,
I'll note that they did send me an email saying they have approved it.
oh, very
They actually
good.
approved a facade grant for it.
All right, fine. That sounds good. All right, we are in public hearing. Are there any comments concerning this requested signage? And then when you approach the podium, please say your name and address for the record.
Hi, Lane Smith with Sunshine Brewing, 332 West Lake Street, here in Lake Mills, obviously. So I'm just here to answer any questions you might have. It's the hanging sign. It won't go up until after the road construction. I talked with Dan, and he advised against anything before then. So the plan would be once the road construction's up, it would go up for installation. And as Steve mentioned, the Main Street's already approved it and approved a grant for it. So
All right.
Lane, at this time, the one thing I would like you to say is that you're in favor of this.
I'm in favor of this.
Hi, very well. Hi, thank you, Mr. Smith. We are still in public hearing. Are there any other comments concerning this requested signage? All right, are there any other comments on this, for this public hearing? All right, hearing none, then we're going to close this public hearing and go on to item number 6. Discussion recommendation on conditional use request, Sunshine Brewing Company, LLC, Lane and Sherry Smith, for the purpose of adding outdoor hanging signage in the right-of-way 121 South Main Street, parcel 246071313220069. We have, Plan Commissioners, we have in front of us motion 19-1. This sets forth a zoning authority under state statutes, the conditional use standards in the zoning code, the projected sign request, the city's review, tonight's public hearing, and Plan Commission review. The motion has states the Plan Commission as recommending to the City Council that it grant conditional use permit for this purpose with the following conditions: that code requirements be met as outlined in the planner's memo, and that the petitioner will follow requirements for privilege in the street. This motion also has the following findings of fact made by the Plan Commission. The conditional use will not be detrimental to or endanger the public health, safety, morals, comfort, or general welfare. B, the use will not be injurious to the use and enjoyment of other property or substantially diminish or impair property values. C, the use will not impede the normal and orderly development and improvement of surrounding property. D, adequate utilities and infrastructure are available. E, ingress and egress will be so designed to minimize traffic congestion in the public street. The use shall, in all respects, conform to the applicable regulations of the district. The use is in harmony with the purposes, goals, objectives, policies, and standards of the City of Lake Mills Comprehensive Plan. The public benefits of the proposed use outweigh any and all potential adverse impacts. Are there any questions of Mr. Smith or the staff, Plan Commissioners? Any comments about the proposal? Does anyone want to make a motion?
Sure, I'll make a motion to approve the motion as printed.
I'll second it.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to pass motion 19-1. Any further discussion? In that case, we'll proceed with roll call vote.
Mr. Schumacher?
Aye.
Mr. Coots?
Aye.
Ms. Lazaris?
Aye.
Mr. Foster?
Aye.
Mr. Holman?
Aye.
Motion passed 5-0.
Okay. The next is item number 7, Public hearing, conditional use request, Haag Muller Incorporated for the purpose of reconfiguring drive-through lanes at McDonald's, 111 East Tyranena Park Road, parcel 246071312230024. And again, we'll start the public hearing. Mr. Wolf, if you would provide an overview of the request.
This item it requires a conditional use just for the drive-through, while the other improvements being proposed on the site are certainly under the purview of the Plan Commission. Because it's a conditional use, they do all comply with the code. So there are facade improvements, a new color scheme, a much more contemporary feel. It's important to understand that when this restaurant was developed, it was in the town and under town rules, which were then and still are much different than what the city would require. We're very excited to see the proposed improvements out there. They are providing improved pedestrian connections out to Tyranena Road. They are doing a small building addition, if you will, for a freezer or storage area to expand that, connected to the building, and then, of course, to reconfigure the drive-through facility. So the focus will be talking about the drive-through facilities. The site plan that's being shown on the, oh, I see you have south up. I don't know if you can flip it, or
Yeah.
is that easier?
Yeah.
What's
Yeah.
easiest for the commission to understand?
Actually, if you look at it on a map, that's the way it would say.
Sure.
Now you just,
It was upside down for me then. We've, from a staff perspective, and talking with the petitioner, and met with the petitioner on site yesterday, trying to figure out the best configuration or accessibility of the drive-through facilities. Anybody who's been out there currently understands that there are two driveway entrances. The county and the city have asked them to consolidate those driveway entrances, which they have done, which we think will certainly improve operations out there by eliminating, I think, a certain level of confusion. Maybe not for local users, but because it's on the interstate, it's a fair amount of people aren't really familiar with it. So that's a great first step. The idea behind the new configuration is that drive-through traffic would enter mostly on the right and stay right, as well as the kind of existing truck traffic that goes and parks in on the north end. And then people going in generally to go into the building would go to the left, immediately trying to separate out those traffic movements. The city's code specifies a minimum number of vehicles at the ordering stations, minimal amount of queuing at pay stations. So those are being complied with, but there are concerns about how, if there is backup at this new configuration for the ordering stations, that we could see backups out onto County V. The petitioner is packaging up some data that was requested by the city engineer, Public Works Director, and the county highway department about peak usage, winter months, summer months, any kind of oddball anomaly days that have higher utilization of the drive-through facility. They did express to us that a significant portion of their business is drive-through, more than 2/3. So of course we want to make sure that we're getting this correct. They are expending considerable dollars to move the drive-through facilities. We'd like to make sure we get it right the first time. So they'll be providing that data in the coming days, if not week. It certainly is logical to expect that fast food restaurant has a drive-through facility. It always has had a drive-through facility. We're not trying to stop that from happening. Everybody's on the same page, the operators, the city, the county, about making sure it's safe, easy to navigate, and doesn't result in any confusion or backups onto County V. The memo that we've put together does highlight the findings, and it does make a condition of approval that while we're hammering out the details, and this does seem to be the best layout for the drive-through configuration, that the recommendation from the Plan Commission be that it's subject to approval by the city engineer, the public works director, and the county highway department.
All right. All right, thank you, Mr. Wolf. We are in public hearing. Is there anyone who wishes to comment on the request by McDonald's for the changes in the drive-throughs? And then please state your name and address for the record.
Good evening. My name is Steve Jeske, Haag Muller Architects, 101 East Grand Avenue, Port Washington, Wisconsin, 53074. I am the project architect for this exciting project for McDonald's, and we are here to answer any of those questions that you may have. We are working very closely with Dustin and city staff to make sure that we come up with a design that meets both the city requirements and the business requirements, as this is an investment for the next 20 to 30 years for the restaurant. As you know, we did the side-by-side drive-through at this location probably about 6 or so years ago. There's been design changes, things that have improved the drive-throughs since then. We've had some issues with our current drive-through configuration, the way that works with cars getting stuck in the last approach to the window with because of the grade issues during winter time. So this is actually an improvement for us, for the business. We also, again, as far as the building goes, we are bringing a much more contemporary look to the building, both interior and exterior. We are going to follow all the recommendations that are listed in the current report, including providing the landscape plan and meeting all the requirements there. So we are here to work with you and excited to bring this project. So if you have any questions, please ask.
All right, thank you, Mr. Jeske. Does anyone else wish to make comments concerning this proposed request? Are there any more comments during this public hearing? All right, hearing none, I'll close the public hearing and we go on to item number 8, discussion and recommendation on conditional use request Haag Muller Incorporated for the purpose of reconfiguring drive-through lanes at 111 East Tyranena Park Road, Parcel 246-0713-1223-024. We do have in front of us a prepared motion 1922. Recommendation to City Council for conditional use permit drive-through for McDonald's restaurant at 111 East Tyranena Park Road. This motion does set forth the zoning authority under Wisconsin state statutes, the conditional use requirements that are in the city zoning code. This particular conditional use request, the city review, tonight's public hearing, and plan commission review. This motion does provide for a recommendation by the Plan Commission to the City Council to grant the conditional use permit with the following conditions. The current 2 driveways providing access to McDonald's and Tyranena Park Road are to be converted into 1 driveway. I think we will discuss that. The site plan will not be authorized and the conditional use permit will not be approved until the site plan meets all requirements of the zoning code as noted in the planner's memo. And here in the memo, the comment here is a resolution of the potential impact of the relocated drive-through facilities to Tyranena Road operations to the satisfaction of the city engineer, public works director, and Jefferson County Highway Department, and as Mr. Jeske mentioned, the landscape plan. And also, the Plan Commission in this motion does confirm certain findings of fact, being 1, the use is in harmony with the purposes, goals, objectives, policies, and standards of the comprehensive plan. 2, the use does not result in a substantial or undue adverse impact on adjacent property, character of the neighborhood, environmental factors, traffic factors, parking, public improvements, public property or rights of way, or other matters affecting public health, safety, or general welfare. 3, the use maintains the desired consistency of land uses, land use intensities, and land use impacts as related to the environment of the property. 4, the use is located in an area that will be adequately served by and will not impose an undue burden on any of the improvements, facilities, utilities, or services provided by public agencies serving the property. 5, the potential public benefits of the use outweigh any and all potential adverse impacts. So that's a prepared motion. Now, what was the comment in the prepared motion? The current driveways will be converted into one driveway?
Yes, the early iteration still showed separate driveways. Conversations with the architect and the petitioner is to consolidate them. That was what was desired by County Highway Department, obviously, the city.
Aye.
So that is being illustrated on the
Oh, right,
site plan
right.
that you're seeing now.
The access driveway.
Correct.
Oh, yeah, very good. Yes, I understand. Okay, all right, my mistake. All right, very good. That's the prepared motion. Plan commissioners, do you have any questions of Mr. Jeske or the staff or comments on this request?
So, I do like it that it's the one driveway now like that. Have we given any thought to taking that second, or that middle lane, instead of bringing it around the front, just send everybody around the back? And have an out only? I know we probably,
have
you
had-
probably
yeah.
talked to death
We
about
talked about
that.
it, they've reviewed it.
Yeah, we've had many conversations about reversing the flow, bringing everybody to the left and sending
Yeah.
them around for even the drive-through, and including the truck traffic, sending everybody to the right and driving around. While it may seem like it solves one problem, it results in 2 or 3 others from an operational
Yeah,
perspective.
I can see that. I can see if there's so many people at the drive-through that nobody can get around to get into the place, it would cause a problem.
And
I just know I've been.
again, the numbers that they're providing to us is to talk about the number of vehicles per hour that they're seeing
Yeah.
in their peak, the average time that people are in line at the order, between ordering and picking up their food.
Yeah.
We have, I would think, turned over the stone under the stone to see what's the best configuration here.
Yeah.
And it comes back to this. This is the easiest to understand when you're coming onto the site.
Yeah.
And it gets people, in their line quickly. They do have, queuing for 8, vehicles at the ordering stations. I think people who are familiar with this McDonald's will understand this inherently. It just kind of feels the same to them. We've done what we can to try to solve any of the other known problems, which was the dual driveway situation. I'm sure
Yeah, I
Jesse
like
can
it that
talk
it's
about
one-
some of the operational issues.
One driveway. I mean, there's been so many close calls that I've seen there because of the multiple driveways, and I've had 3 close calls. When I pull in there and try to go to the front, people that come flying around that end don't see you, and you're close to getting taken out. That's the only reason I brought it up. And it's not for folks here in the community, because everybody in the community knows,
Yeah.
go slow around those corners, but we get a lot of traffic off the interstate, and all bets are off when they're flying around those corners there. But I just can't think of a better way to lay it out than what you're showing there right now.
Mr. Jeske, would you like to comment on this?
Sure. The proposed design, as we've stated, is the best design that we feel that we can apply to this site. Again, our goal is to provide the most efficient drive-through for the customer and for the people actually, again, outside not using the drive-through. Because 70% of our business does go through the drive-through, frankly, the requirement to have a design that works properly is huge for any McDonald's, and frankly, any fast service, quick service restaurant with a drive-through. The drive-through numbers over the years have been growing every single year, small amounts every year, but they do continue to grow because people are using the drive-through more and more. We have looked at pretty much and exhausted every potential other option for the site as far as circulation around the site. And again, we feel this is the best for both the business and the community. The stacking right now, again, we're showing basically 8 vehicles behind the order point. So we have 2 cars at the order point and then 8 vehicles stacked behind there. The way the existing design works with there's 2 different drives, when you put the cars in right now, we basically have a 10-car stack. So we're only losing 2 cars. That's if the cars split at the point they're supposed to split. So when you get out on the site, you'll see the paint markings. That split point is about 2 cars behind the order point. If cars split before that, you could probably stack 11 in there. But if you try to stack 12, you'll actually be blocking the left turn lane in. So that's why I say worst case scenarios, we're only reducing it by about 3 cars total. We are going to be providing evidence, as Dustin requested, to show that the amount of vehicles using the drive-through, that we're not going to be stacking out to the street, because that's as much of a concern of ours as it is of yours. If a customer gets hit or if there's an accident on the lot, that's not good for us. And frankly, we can have customers hit bollards or hit things on site, and then they come into the restaurant and say, well, I hit your bollard, you got to pay for it. So there's nothing good that happens if there's an accident on site or even off site if somebody's coming to the restaurant. So again, it's our goal as much as it is to yours to provide a safe and efficient design. So that's what we're going to do.
All right, thank you, Mr. Jeske. Plan commissioners, do you have any further questions or comments?
Yeah, I just have a question. What do you do if you actually do have that many drive-through customers and they do back out into the street? And the reason I ask is when they built the new elementary school, when you turned right onto Pine Street, that's Pine, right?
Yeah.
When the school was first built, the people picking up children would continue to park, and then when they parked, they stopped and they were blocking Main Street, mind you, until the police with signage and, I don't know, some other issues got that scenario stopped. But, you know, if the people wanting to go through the drive-through will just legitimately stop, what will be the solution? Will there be signs that, you know, no stopping, you know, behind this point or something? Because otherwise they will legitimately be out into Highway V.
So the idea behind the design, again, is to make it really as intuitive as possible. Our goal is not to confuse the customer as they're coming onto the site. One of the questions we discussed in yesterday's meeting was, if I pull onto the site, how am I going to see it? Or what's going to really drive me to the drive-thru lanes? What if I go around it? How do I get back to it? That type of thing. So wayfinding, again, because this is a very important part of our business, is extremely important. We have gateway signs, which basically announce the entrance to the drive-thrus. Those gateway signs are the old height indicators. So except now they're a little fancier. They say welcome or drive-thru, in addition to having just the height indicator on that. Beyond that, McDonald's also now uses the canopies over the order points. Again, it's another visual clue that helps direct the people that are coming, say that they're off the freeway, they've never been here before, to get to the drive-thru in an efficient manner. McDonald's uses the same design throughout all their restaurants in the country, so it's not like McDonald's in the Midwest uses one thing and McDonald's in the Great Plains uses another. So if you're traveling and you've been to McDonald's before, which most people have, there's a familiarity in all these sites. And again, that's part of the popularity. People know what they're getting when they come to McDonald's. To the question of, I think another great question Dustin asked was, well, what happens if we're wrong? Because that's a legitimate question. What happens if we're wrong? Well, what we've seen is that really right now, history is showing with our side-by-side drive-through that we're only stacking about 2 to 4 cars behind each order point at this point in time, and that's during the peak times. During yesterday's lunch hour, I believe we served about 68 cars. That's about just over 1 car a minute. The drive-through probably has maybe 1, maybe 2 at each order point at the most on a day like that. We think right now the numbers are going to show that we're about at a max of about 120 cars in a 1 hour period at the peak. And even then, so if we double what we saw yesterday, we're still not even stacking out to the street. Now, what happens if somebody pulls in and they're completely confused? Maybe they have a boat trailer on and they turn sideways and they try to stop. back up and go to somewhere else on the site. We can't control that. We know at some point in time, somebody's going to screw something up and it's going to cause a backup. But if everything is flowing right, the way it's supposed to, and again, the whole idea between the two order points is that is the absolute slowest portion of the order process. So by providing two order points, if somebody has a $30 order and somebody has a $1 order, that $1 order line is going through and multiple people may go by while that $30 order is sitting there continuing and continuing.
Yeah.
So right now, our kitchen is really what dictates how fast cars go through. And we're pulled out to 100 feet from the point at which you pay for your order to the point at which you actually place your order. And that's the optimal number that McDonald's is using today. So I don't know if that answers the question 100%, because I don't think there's a 100% answer for that. But that's what we're confident of.
The engineers are trying, we're trying to get the data so we can work with the engineers to see what kind of the conditions are, how many vehicles at the peak times and how long they're there to determine how much queuing is likely to be seen at the peak times. And then moreover, to be able to kind of use that as a benchmark to see what's happening going forward, see if we're creeping up on a problem. When we were out there, anecdotally, there were no issues. The handful of peak times, I think you're going to see some queuing, but right now it doesn't seem like you're going to find impacts out into Tyranena. So
We
Yeah,
went over the numbers pretty extensively yesterday. Based on the numbers, there's not going to be an issue. Steve's case, I mean, if people start doing that, we'll have to send the police out there. You can't put enough signage at that intersection. There's already so much people don't
Yeah,
read.
Yeah.
but the one driveway is a significant
A
improvement.
significant improvement, but if you got a tractor trailer that gets stuck in there because someone screwed up or something, that's gonna happen. People are gonna have to adjust and go around the other way or figure out something else to do, but
It's such a successful McDonald's that you can't help it, but it's already, I don't know, I've been there when there's been more cars there than what we're talking about, so, and that's now, so I think before 20 years is over, we'll probably have to have a third lane or something.
We talked
And-
about that. We're hoping someday, when they have the technology, they'll get to that point.
yeah, I'm pretty confident that this will work, at least in the interim. At some point in time, it may not, but
The online ordering, maybe you can just drive right by and pick up.
they have 3 online ordering spots designated, so if you look, there's 2 here and there's an
And-
alternate over here.
The other improvements are going to kiosks inside. I mean, there's a number of things that are happening that, perhaps that will change what we're going to see in the next few years. But we're trying to make a decision with the best information we have. Again, the condition of having the kind of key entities sign off on it, not holding it up at this end, because, the layout really can't change from this.
Yeah,
We
this is a
tried.
much better
tried.
design.
One of the things we did change before we submitted this too is, right now we're showing 1 in and 2 outs. Initially, when I first submitted the change to Dustin with the single driveway, we had 1 in and 2 outs. The reason we wanted to do this was we figured if we're going to have a backup, it's better to back up people on the site trying to get out as opposed to backing up people trying to get in. So that's, again, addressing the issue and the concern you have. Can you guarantee 100%? Never guarantee 100%, but again, we're looking at always making it better every step of the way.
Is it, I just have one more question. It looks like for the delivery, the tractor trailer stuff, they can just drive through then, they can just drive across the,
Correct. And that's the same
That's better
configuration they
than-
have, but we've actually improved it with a little bit of an angle. So.
yeah, that's better than how it is now, too.
All right, thank you, Mr. Zeski.
Thank you.
Planning Commissioners, do you have any other questions or comments on this request? Would anyone care to make a motion concerning motion 19-2?
I move adoption of motion 1922 as written.
Support.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to pass motion 19-2. Is there any discussion on this motion? All right, hearing none, then we'll proceed with a roll call vote.
Mr. Coots?
Aye.
Ms. Lazaris,
Aye.
Mr. Foster,
Aye.
Mr. Holman,
Aye.
Mr. Schumacher. Motion passed 5-0.
All right, next is item number 9, public hearing, conditional use request, Lake Mills Public School District for the purpose of amending current conditional use permit to include adding on 10,000 square feet of academic space and adding a football field within the track, adding bleachers for the turf football field and track, and improving existing concessions restroom building at 615 Catlin Drive. Parcel 246071313310001. All right, and then to start the public hearing, Mr. Wolf, if you would provide an overview of the request.
To the chagrin of the architects in the audience, I'm going to be very brief. The crux of this is, I said the architects, not you, that the zoning code requires a conditional use for new or expanded, revised educational facilities, and it also requires a conditional use for the athletic facility, specifically the lighting. So that's really the focus of the conditional use, and those are for the obvious reasons, because we find institutional uses, educational facilities are the center of our neighborhoods typically, so there are to be expected certain impacts that the neighbors would want to be notified about, and also lighting athletic facilities are something that they typically like to be notified about. So the renderings that you're seeing there are just kind of showing that it will mimic the existing facility. It will be, if you can throw the site plan up there, it might be easier to understand where this is happening. Immediately
Do I have it
adjacent.
up there right now, or you want it the other way?
Couldn't wait to poke me a little bit. So they're adding on to the west end of the building closest to Catlin Drive. It does meet all the setback requirements. There's a little bit of a reconfiguration of the parking areas. The handicap stalls are being moved out in the main parking area, and new sidewalk is being added along the building addition. There's new lighting being proposed. The memo that we put together highlights what that lighting is. It's LED lighting. The photometrics provided do meet all of our requirements. There's no new signage being proposed. The one issue that we raised is we weren't aware of bicycle parking out there. The code requires bicycle parking, so kind of going through the process, if you can illustrate where bicycle parking is occurring, making sure that it's kind of prominent so it's safe, visible, et cetera. I don't know how it's handled now, but but something we'd like to see there. As for the athletic facilities, that was the second part of the referendum that passed last fall. All new track, new field turf facilities. Sure you want that. I'll let you sift.
It includes a soccer field.
Include the soccer field, the new bleachers, revisions, improvements, and reconfiguration of the concession restroom facility that's out there, new lighting, and fencing. There will be a new scoreboard as well. There are two types of fencing that's out there. One's kind of just security fencing, 6 foot, vinyl coated, and then the other is a 4-foot fence to kind of demarcate different activity areas. The existing track and field facilities will be relocated generally from the north side of the site to the south side of the site. There will be opportunity for banners on the 4-foot fencing that will be opposite the bleachers, so on the east end of the site. And then the new scoreboard will have the opportunity for 2 sponsors to be illustrated on it as well. The last thing on the photometrics is the code does specify in when the lighting needs to be shut off, generally by 10:30. That's just in the code, so it doesn't really need to be a condition. But the fencing, the lighting levels will generally be around 50-foot candles during events, which is the industry standard. They are dark sky compliant, et cetera.
Okay. All right, thank you, Mr. Wolf. We are in public hearing. Is there anyone who wishes to comment concerning these requested improvements?
Hi, my name is Teresa Wadzinski. I am with Epstein Ewan Architects. I'm one of the architects that has been working with the school district. I think what we're proposing is pretty straightforward. Obviously, the 10,000 square foot academic addition benefits the students as the high school is getting close to capacity. Very minor site changes. The aesthetic of the building is essentially matching the materials and the fenestration patterns that are already on site. And then as far as the athletic field, actually, this is the demolition plan. If, like, C102 might show better what's being proposed besides the addition of the football field within the track and the addition of bleachers. Not a lot is changing, so again, keeping very consistent with what's already there. So hopefully it's very straightforward. I'm here if there's any questions.
All right, thank you. All right, we're still in public hearing. Does anyone else wish to speak?
Good evening, I'm Pam Strike, District Administrator for the Lake Mills Area School District. Obviously, I'm speaking in support of this project, these two projects, and if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those as well.
Okay, all right, thank you, Mrs. Strike. We're still in public hearing. Does anyone else wish to make any comments concerning this request by the school district? Would anyone else like to speak or have any comments concerning this request? All right, hearing none, I will close the public hearing and we'll go on to item number 10, discussion and recommendation on conditional use request, Lake Mills School District for the purpose of amending current conditional use permit to include adding on 10,000 square feet of academic space and adding a football field within the track, adding bleachers for the turf football field and track, and improving existing concessions restroom building at 615 Catlin Drive, parcel 246071313310001. All right, plan commissioners, do you have any questions or comments on this request? Mrs. Strike is here and the architect also. Anything further from city staff?
There are a couple separate items. We're still looking at site plan review. So they're, like fire
Okay,
issues are still a little bit outstanding. And then they're doing a building that's separate, that's storage, that isn't in this conditional use. And that'll be coming through site plan review too. So there are a couple little minor things that are still out there, but as a whole, it looks great.
all right, all right. All right, Mr. Holman?
I have a question. I just happened to hear from the engineer a comment that it said you said something to the effect that this is a good design of a field with a high school close to full capacity. Is that what you said, or did I hear something wrong?
When I was referring to capacity, I was talking about the high school building itself and the fact that student enrollment in Lake Mills is growing. And so the capacity of the academic spaces of the building is nearing capacity. That's why the classroom addition is being proposed.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I guess my concern is probably more of a thing for the school board meeting, but, to put this kind of money into the track, if the facility is going to be full, just has a different concern. Unrelated, sorry.
So the school board has approached what I'd call a 30-year master plan. And one of the things that they looked at was, can this site where the high school is currently sustain getting bigger, again, because Lake Mills is growing, And so that was one thing that has been talked about, if a new high school on a bigger site would be needed. And what we found is that, no, this site can easily hold up to 750 students with all of the athletic spaces and fields and everything else that would go along with a typical brand-new high school.
Good to hear.
And I would just add that with our enrollment studies, that would take us well into the 2030s, into 2040s, with a capacity of 750 students. We're at about 450 now, so that's a pretty generous a projection for several years out.
Great.
Very well. Plan commissioners, are there any other further comments or questions? Would anyone wish to make a motion concerning this motion 1923?
I move adoption of motion 1923.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to pass motion 1923. Is there any discussion? All right, hearing none, then we'll proceed with a roll call vote.
Ms. Lazaris?
Aye.
Mr. Foster?
Aye.
Mr. Holman?
Aye.
Mr. Schumacher?
Aye.
Mr. Coots?
Aye.
Motion passed 5-0.
Case will go on to item number 11, recommendation for future agendas. Do we see anything coming up in March that we know about right now
Possibly the high
for
school.
future agendas?
As Steve had indicated, the high school is doing a couple of other smaller buildings, storage
Oh,
facilities, et cetera, on the site. They'll come back,
Oh, I see. Okay, very good.
Conditional use
All right.
amendment, but I don't know if that will be as soon as
Yeah,
As March,
at a later
it may
time than today.
lag a little bit into
Yeah.
April, May.
Okay.
Seeing head nodding out there, so April, May-ish. Yeah,
All right.
so. Okay.
All right. All right. Anything further about future agendas? All right, in that case, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
moved and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, we're adjourned.